thewellnesscouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cyndi O'Meara, Carren Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Carren Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cyndi O'Meara.
And welcome to today's podcast. Today's going to be all about...
Money, money, money.
We said we weren't going to do that. In a rich man's world.
Money, man. Oh, we said we weren't going to do that. One chorus.
We just wanted to hear you sing, Cyndi.
We were trying to discuss whether we really should sing or not, and you know what? I think we're better speakers. Carren can sing.
No, I can't. I want to sing. Doesn't mean I can. Two very, very different distinctions there. Yes. So we want to talk about money. How do we make it? How do we lose it? What does it mean? What is it? What's the deal with money? Do we have it? Do we not have it? Because I think money, like food and love, are kind of the three key drivers in life, really, aren't they? I mean, we do what we do to make money so that we can live in a house and buy our food and pay for our family and support ourselves and drive our cars and have a good time and go to the movies. We do everything that we do in order to make money, but the saddest part about money is that money comes at the greatest cost of it all, I think. To a large degree for a lot of people, it comes at the greatest cost of all, in that while our husbands or we're out there making money, we're sacrificing the time. We're sacrificing the time with our family and our loved ones, when really what we're out there doing in terms of making money is to have more time with our loved ones. So really, is it all that it's cracked up to be?
Yeah.
Isn't it? And we have our money so that we can have fun, but when we... I'm kind of getting a bit of an epiphany as I'm talking about it. But we go out and work so hard to make money, but we spend so much time working hard that there's no time to do anything.
Or we're so stressed.
Well, we're so stressed, yeah. We go out to make it, to have a good time so that we can do the things we want, but then there's no time to do the things that we want because we're working so hard. We go out to work so hard to make money so that we can buy the foods and eat the foods that we want, yet we're so stressed and so busy we don't have time to actually make and prepare the foods that we want. Therefore, we go for more convenience. What are we thinking? Welcome to my life. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, like, I'm just even thinking about Danny. Danny goes away to work all the time in order to support the family, but and to give the family and to be with the family and to have the quality family, but he's not there.
I know, and he'll often send a text or an email or he'll ring and we've just been to Taylor's dancing or we've just watched Jacob play in a grand final.
These are things you can't get back. These are moments that
he goes flat because he's like, but then his whole thing, is a little bit different in the sense if you've got a goal or if you're working towards something, and that is we're working towards getting him home. So he knows that this is a time and a place that you just put your nose down, tail up, and you do the best that you can. We do have an exit strategy for that, and I think that's perhaps where money can become a problem when you don't have exit strategies or strategies at all in place as
you
to how to get to supply.
You don't have an objective that you're working towards.
Yeah, and then it can just feel like a mundane, everyday, continual, get up, go to work, go to home, that beautiful cycle you talk about. So I think for us what gets us through is knowing that this is just another 18 months. 18 months is all we're going to do it for. So I think that kind of helps. But you're right, we do not get those times back, which is why I video and photograph everything at least, and we Skype him. He'll often be on our iPad at the dinner table while we're having dinner just to be a part of that. And that's the beauty of, modern technology is he kind of still... But then we switch it off and he's in a room on his own and the three of us get on with our life, and it's not easy.
I wonder, I've been questioning a lot lately, and I had this conversation with you, Cyndi, the other day, or even this morning, I can't remember now.
We talk every day.
We do. You can't remember when it was. But we have no idea when the end of our days arrives. But we spend our days...
Acting like we have forever.
Acting like we have, all in the name of earning money, so that we can live the kind of life we really want to live, but we have no idea when that life is going to reach its end. So why not live that life today And if we live that life today, does that mean then that we can't go out and make money? Silence is deafening.
It's funny, I was watching...
Stop it!
Yeah,
Oh,
she's off her seat.
I just shoved Kim, and Kim is sitting on a football, so she went rolling backwards. But that's kind of, it's a question, isn't it?
It is something
When you
that
think
we
about
ask
the
often, though, because I do think that, especially after losing Danny's sister so suddenly, it does make you really see our immortality very, very clearly. Or when you hear of an
Or the
accident,
fragility of life.
or you see an accident and you hear on the news 2 people lost their lives, and they say it so flippantly, and I know they have to, but I think of those families that are affected and how long they're going to be affected for the rest of their lives. So, yeah, I do ask myself that question sometimes. Is it all worth it? Is it all worth it? I mean, the reason why he goes away and travels so much to work sometimes is that our kids stay in private school to give them the best options and the best things at all. And really, he could be here doing something much less, and we could live a less materialised, focused world, really, if we really chose to. So it's
So that we can accumulate things.
Actually, you just brought up something that I was thinking as you were saying about private school. We took our family out of private school, our 3 kids out of private school, and put them in a bus and travelled around Australia for 2 years. So my wardrobe was the size of a computer, probably your computer, Carren. That was my hanging wardrobe, the size, as far as width goes. So what's that? Maybe half a metre, if that? Not even half a metre.
No, that wouldn't be half a metre
No.
there, sweet. No.
No, it would probably be...
About 40 centimetres.
Yeah, about 40 centimetres. So that was my hanging wardrobe, and I had one pull-out cupboard for my clothes.
See, now you go there, and now I'm in a whole other world of pain.
Exactly, I knew you were.
Do you know what I'm saying? I can be philosophical about money, but when it comes to wardrobes, I'm in a world of pain for you right now.
Well, that's what I had. And
See
then
the
my
contradiction
kids,
of it all.
Exactly. Then my
Contradiction.
kids see your... I know that everybody in the audience can't hear this and who's listening to us, but we have these little baskets, and they're probably the size of, I don't know...
A shoebox, 2 shoeboxes.
Yeah. Well, my kids would have had half of that for each of their clothes.
They
while
had
we
a shoebox
travelled.
each?
But about just a bit longer than a shoebox. So there's the width of a shoebox, but a bit longer than a shoebox they had for their clothes, that's all. We lived in a bus. We...
What about
we lived on
showering?
we had a shower. We had a shower in the bus. So we lived a very, very basic life.
What about hairstylists
No,
and
none
straighteners
of that.
and
Have none
hair
of that.
dryers?
Have none of that. And I homeschooled my children. We lived on very little. We didn't need a lot of money. For 2 years we did this, and we had the most magnificent 2 years of our life.
Oh, I bet you did.
It was just...
All jokes aside, I bet you did.
Yeah, it really was. It was one of
quality
those...
time.
Very quality time. I got to teach the children for 2 years, 2 years of their life. I got to be their teacher. Howard was the tour master, He would figure out where we would go, what we were doing, and then we'd sit down and we'd discuss it. We spent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week together, all of us. We met amazing other families, but often we were by ourselves. I remember spending 2 or 3 weeks not seeing another human being because we had gone into areas that not many people went, saw lots of animals, crocodiles, things like that, but we never saw human beings, and it was a magical time.
amazing.
It was, and a lot of people say this to me, I wish we'd done what you did, Cyndi. And some people do it their whole lifetime. They may get on a yacht and take their kids away. And they do. They live very simply, and there's not a lot of materialism. And I was reading Shani and Julius's new book. Did you read that? And what they call it? OOC? Overconsumption? Something about overconsumption. And
Really? They've got another one out?
yeah, philosophy 2 it is. And he talks about OOC.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's called that. And it's where we work to buy materialistic things that clutter our homes that we really don't care about, that we may even not know that's there, without really having thought about what this life and this planet's all about. And I don't think there's a problem with making money. That's not the issue. It's what we choose to do with our money, especially if we don't make a lot of money and we choose to buy stuff that we don't need, and then we have to go out and work more because we've done that, and then we don't spend time with our family.
Yeah.
And really, nobody ever says as they die, I wish I'd worked more.
No,
We've never
they
heard
don't.
that anybody's ever said that. A bit like that one that you sent me, Carren, that no woman has ever said, I have enough shoes.
Yeah, no, I understand that one.
Yes. No, yes. I see that. I see the truth in that. No, but it's so true. When I was in the States just recently, it was a real wake up call for me. And I mean, no disrespect to the States, it just happens to be that's where I was, and I got the epiphany. What I witnessed, because I'd been travelling through Europe with Matt for 4 weeks or 6 weeks, actually.
In a suitcase.
In a suitcase, two of us.
With not much stuff.
In a suitcase, yeah. And then when I went to the States, I took even less because I was home for 2 days and then I went off to San Francisco for 10 days, and I took even less. I did your trick, Cyndi. I just packed 3 of everything and I thought I'm just going to wash. God.
3 undies?
Jeez, and I did only take 3 undies.
God.
Oh, heavens alive. I was busy every damn night, no rest. Anyway. But what the epiphany that I got was the overconsumption of humanity. In that, I mean, and I just look at myself as a classic example, and everybody that, you know, that I come across, we overconsume food. We kill so many animals pointlessly for bags and shoes. Life is lost hand over fist for bags and shoes, and you know, our trees and our and nature is just absolutely prostituted so that we can consume.
Then there's packaging that all of that comes in.
It made me feel quite sick,
Yeah.
actually. It really made me feel quite sick. And when I came home, I totally decluttered all of the house, decluttered the bathrooms. I got rid of 6 bags of clothes, shoes, the lot, you know, and I'll never buy another, and this is just me, I'll never buy another leather handbag, I'll never buy another pair of leather shoes. So if I'm buying it, I'm buying the cheap stuff, so and I'm quite happy with that. But I just... Even that, you know, like it's such overconsumption. And I look back at my pay, and my sister used to say to me, because I used to earn 160 grand a year when I was in Sydney, but every week I was living week to week. And she said to me, you might as well not even work. She said, you might as well not even work. She said, because everything you're earning, you're blowing it. So why? And she said, you've never got any money. So why are you working? Why not just live having no money? And I was working 16 hours a day to earn 160 grand a year. And she was bloody right. She was absolutely right. It's when I think about how much money gets spent, and I'm part of the equation, but how much money gets spent on needless stuff that is not about survival, it's just about excess. It's just about consumption. And the cost to our planet, the cost to our animals, and the cost to us in terms of the stress that we go through to earn that money, the amount of time we have to be away from our family and our loved ones, the amount of time that we are so disassociated because we're thinking about work or thinking about how we're going to create our next opportunity rather than being in the moment with the people that we care for most. At the end of the day, when we are lying on our deathbed, we're never going to say, I wish I'd worked more. We're always going to say, I wish I spent more time with my mum, or I wish I spent more time with my partner, or I wish I had more time with my children. I wish I had more time.
It's experiences that I think in the end is probably more important than the materialism. Although, you know, having said that, living in a nice environment, you know, you think about people who live in Ethiopia, let's just say, who live on a sand desert and they may be happy. I don't know these people at all, but I'm just thinking their environment as opposed to where we live. We live on a beach. We live on the sunny Sunshine Coast. We live in a land of plenty. We live where there's lots of rain, where there's lots of food. We actually live because of our where we were born, of probably our financial what we have. We're able to do this. We're able to live in this type of environment.
I guess it is easy to sit here.
It's very easy for us.
Sit here and say, what are we doing, when really we have everything, isn't it?
And I think back to when I was 19 and 20 and what was important to me. Like once I'd stopped tramping around the world and doing things like that, and I wanted to settle and I wanted to start...
You were 19 and you wanted to settle?
No, I was probably about 24 when I got to university or finishing up university, and I'm thinking it's time for me to have some things around me instead of a suitcase that I can live in and out of very easily. And I I started to want things. You know, so that was the beginning of my wants, and I want nice furniture, and I want a nice bed, and I want nice decorations, and I want a new computer. If computers were though, no, I didn't have a computer till the 90s, so I'm still in the 80s, so it wouldn't have been a computer. But I wanted jewelry. You know, I had no jewelry. I had none of that stuff. So I look back then when you're just starting your life, and you do have those wants. They're not needs.
Yeah.
They're actual wants. But I'm now, you know, in my 50s now, and I actually have my jewelry, my furniture, my computer, anything I'd ever want. I actually have. And I'm not extravagant. And I look back then and I think, well, it's really not that important. You know, and the jewelry I have is the fact that my mother and sister loved jewelry. And they passed away and I got it all. So I actually have all the diamonds and all the gold that I'd ever want. And yet it really makes no difference to my life. Yeah, it just doesn't. So I think it's at that period of your life as to you think you want it, and then when you get it, it's not going to make you happy. So it's not about, you know, how much you can gather around you. I think it's about the experiences, and, you know, having a barbecue at our place is just as good as going out for dinner and spending, you know, Kim and I went out for Father's Day with our boys and the kids. And what was the cost of that? That was pretty...
It was expensive, but I loved every minute of it. But what I really learned... It was expensive. I knew it was going to be expensive, so therefore we'd made the choice, so therefore I was going to indulge and enjoy every moment.
Yeah.
But I think for me growing up, my mother never had any money. It wasn't like we had a lot of money or anything, but I still feel like I was never deprived. I don't feel like I grew up... I mean, the biggest thing when it hit me that we didn't have a lot of money is when we graduated, your equivalent of getting an OP... I got mine and I'd graduated with 6 subjects, which most people were doing 5, and I'd done 6, but I was really upset that I'd only got one of them, which was accounting. was 53%, and that was my lowest one. And I was really upset that I only got 53%. Yet I'd passed. Everyone else around me was going, but you passed. But I was really upset that I'd only got 53%. But my girlfriend I got home from where I had been that day, and my mother had bought me a sweatshirt as a gift. So it would have cost her to get that sweatshirt, and it was on my bed, and congratulations. And I was so rapt that she'd bought me the sweatshirt. I rang my girlfriend to tell her, and before I told her, she goes, oh my God, you're not going to believe it, but my mum and dad have just bought me a car and we're going to the Gold Coast for a holiday. Oh. I just couldn't tell her it was in that moment I realised that we didn't have money. And it was quite a big shock, really, because we'd always been in a home and Mum had always worked hard, and I'd always had my netball shoes, which was a big thing for me, and all that sort of thing, even though we didn't have a lot of support from my dad. But it was a very different way. Then when I got out there in the big wide world, and I was earning $115 a week, and it was costing me $107 a week to live in a house and to pay for the petrol in my car. Yeah. And it was tough. And so I waitressed on top of my job just to get a bit of extra cash. And the extra cash was so that I could go out on a Friday night with everybody and have a few drinks or whatever, or to play in another team, or to buy, I don't know, whatever it was. I did like clothes, but I was never a big label because I'd never understood I could see the cost of them, I just could never get them. So it was interesting.
Changed, isn't it?
Well, it was interesting because then as I've gone through... and I realised how much I really appreciate nice things and really love them. Then I met Danny, who was earning amazing money at a young age. He too was raised in, I wouldn't say, it's not a poor home, don't get me wrong, we had everything we needed, but it wasn't a lavish, expensive, wealthy upbringing. So he saved $95,000 in his bank account for us when we got engaged to place a deposit on our first home, which was massive.
It was massive.
Massive.
Back in those days.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
And the house we brought was $205,000, and we put a $90,000 deposit on this house. Half of it was already gone. Then we rented it for a couple more years to save more money and stayed at home. And then before we moved into the house, we spent $100,000 on it, doing it up and making it a beautiful home. So the first home we moved into was a dream home. Unbelievable villa in Devonport, Auckland, dream home. And I was completely blown away at where my life... And when I look back to what I'd written down at 15 years of age, what I wanted in my life in my diary was a beautiful home by the time I was 25, to be married at 25, my first baby at 30, and marry a really hunky, sporty, rich man. That was everything I'd written, and it had all come true. It had all been manifested, and here I was in my first home at 25. We'd been married, and the most beautiful home I could have ever dreamed. So then we went through life and we earned good money and we helped people around us. You know, Danny got sponsored clothes and we'd give it to family and we shared it. We shared the wealth, which is what I really loved about having money, was it was a beautiful thing to do. So at Christmas I would spoil family. I wouldn't just buy crap. I would buy them a dinner set, or we'd get them a knife and fork set because they didn't have one. Or
how come we didn't know her then?
I don't know, but I think we missed out.
Didn't you get the baking soda underarm deodorant?
No, I had to buy that myself, actually.
whatever you do.
Just saying.
Just saying.
But what's interesting...
Keep going, Kim, keep going.
And this is my thing around money. I thought that would never end.
Yeah.
You know, I really thought that we'd reach the pinnacle, that life would be sweet. You know what I also love doing? Because we wrote cheques in those, you know, back at that time. Every time I got the power bill in, I'd put a kiss and a smiley face on it because I was so grateful to be able to pay the bill. I loved paying my bills because I could. And I loved making sure that we had. And I probably, in a way, even though I was incredibly grateful, probably also took it for granted, I would say. So then when, you know, I got the building houses and property development, I started hanging and noticing people in our circles were developers and they were making more money. And I think I got into a little bit, if I was really honest, got into a little bit of if they can do that, I can do that. And so I started developing properties and we did really well. And our wealth just kept building. By the time we were in our 30s, we were pretty much mortgage free. We probably had about $1 million equity behind us, which may not sound a lot now, but, you know, this is 15 years ago.
I think it's...
But that's where we were at.
Yeah.
It was amazing. We were in this bubble. And then Danny's career got cut short. And all of a sudden the money wasn't coming in anymore. But we'd built up enough to do that. But then I carried on developing. And this time, because I wanted to help someone, I got this person to help us develop this property instead of giving it to a building developer. And I handed it all over. I just figured he'd do it the way and this is one big lesson I've learned. No one looks after your money the way you do.
Or respects it.
Yeah. And he, long story short, and not all blame on these people, but I had to take responsibility that I hadn't taken responsibility, so I certainly am not blaming just these people, but we ended up losing our house, long story short. We luckily had invested into another property and we had it there, but that was around the time when Danny's sister tragically took her life, and it was like all these things in our life started going wrong. So we moved over here to get a bit of sunshine back into our lives, and we brought then we sold that property over there. We brought the money over here, and I thought, what are we going to do with it? It's nothing. We were really flat about the fact we had no money, or that felt like no money. Yet we still had quite a few $100,000 there sitting in a bank account. But we both felt really flat because we'd lost this home as well, so we'd gone way backwards in our opinion. So then on advice from a friend and listening to people, we then decided that the best thing to do would be put this money into a financial institution until we were ready to build, and we just placed a deposit on a section and we were going to build ourselves back up again. 3 months later, that financial institution collapsed and everything went. And I remember sitting there. I mean, I will definitely be honest, for 3 days we were distraught. I was upset. Both of us couldn't believe it. Nothing we could do about it. I kind of, after 3 days, went, you know what, uppercut, we've still got a beautiful marriage, we've got 2 healthy children, like what really matters here, we can always make money, and we're in our 30s, we can make money, but we can't reclaim what we have here. Danny took it a lot harder though. And I think we've discussed on previous podcasts, this is when he went down into his depression and thought, what's it all for? Who gives a shite? Who cares? But, you know, at the end of the day, who cares? And he went down, and I think as a man, the hunter-gatherer, the provider, someone who had built all this up and now all of a sudden had nothing and lost his sister and lost everything else, I can understand why he went into that spiral. So I kind of kept thinking, and what really hit me, and now we're renting, we don't have our own property, and that's probably a reason why Danny's prepared to work the way he is, and probably why I am, is not to get back into some sense of status, because I think that was important to us back then, but it's just to give ourselves choices, a few more choices and things like that. So I think I said to Danny, you know, let's look at this as a lesson, you know, and we have to, because at the end of the day, it is what it is. We can't get the money back. We can't get the home back, and we can't do these things. But one day we were down on our beautiful beach, standing there, the two of us, arm in arm, looking out to the sea, going, considering we have no money, that was our words, and that's not the truth of it because we were earning money, but compared to what we had, I stood there and I went, we've got a beautiful marriage. We've got 2 healthy children. We've got amazing friends. We've got an incredible lifestyle. we still travel because of his work. It still takes us to places, and we've got no money, yet we get paid business class to go somewhere, or we get something put up for, we stay in a beautiful hotel because of his job, or something happens, and I go, actually, we are living the dream. We are living the dream.
You are. Like, I look at your life and I go, yeah, there's nothing really missing. The only thing that's missing is equity.
Yeah.
That's all it is. You know, you drive beautiful cars, you live in a beautiful home, you live on the beautiful Sunshine Coast, you do get to travel, and I think sometimes we have this thing that we must have equity. Look, and I know in the end it will help, but we're paying super as well, remember. We're all doing super. And we get caught up in the Australian dream. As my brother says to me, in Switzerland, they just want 5% on their money. They don't even care if they don't have their own home. They just want 5% on their savings. And they're happy. But we want 30%. You know, we want the best that we can get. We just don't have that conservatism in Australia. And sometimes I think, you know, the Australian dream might be to have your house, have your equity in your home, maybe have an investment property, a little bit of money in the stock market, earn a good living, have all the material things that we need. But in actual fact, I don't think that is... that's what we think it is, but I don't think that's what it really is. So I look at you from the outside, Kim, and the inside, and I just see, you know, perfection as far as a good life compared to, you know, what other people are like. And I know you have this wonderful thing that you say, and it always pulls me up, and that is, you know, when you think you don't have something, think of the person who really doesn't have it. Like, if you don't like your legs, think of the person who's lost their legs. If you don't like your boobs, think of the person who's had breast cancer and they've had their breasts taken off, you know. So I think sometimes we keep looking ahead instead of realising we need to live where we are now, and are we happy right now, and is everything going well? And yeah, it's funny, from the outside, you see differently than what probably people are thinking on the inside. I see the same with you, Carren. I see, you know, someone that is living a pretty amazing life.
I'll be honest, I do think I live a very good life.
Yeah.
I feel very grateful and I feel very blessed.
Was there a but in there? Was there a but?
No, there wasn't a but I was actually just like reflecting back on how I got to where I am now. But I think that I've always been... when I was growing up with my family, we felt really privileged. You know, we never felt that we went without anything like you did, Kim. Like, we never felt that we went without anything, but I don't think we actually did go without anything. I think I did have a fairly privileged upbringing. And then when I went out on my own as I was growing up, I always was very career-oriented. I have a very entrepreneurial family. My dad takes the lead, my sister follows, and of course my sister's my mentor, and my brother's the same. So for me, I've always been looking up and looking forward to what they're achieving, and then that kind of lays the groundwork for me to follow. So I've always been very career-oriented and very independent, but, you know, even that comes with the price, because 16 hours of my day, since I can remember when I first started working, I've always been a 16-hour-a-day worker. And now that I'm 43 and I'm doing a lot of travelling and, you know, away a lot, it's really giving me perspective on what I've sacrificed in all of those years. I mean, I wouldn't change any of it. Obviously, I can't, because it's a reality and it is what it is. And Matt and I live an incredibly wonderful life. We come and go as we please. We have beautiful cars. We have anything and everything that we want. We don't want for anything ever. So I do feel like I'm incredibly blessed with what we've created. But it's interesting, you know, and it's easy to sit on this side of it, having had everything, to say, what have I missed out on? What was the alternative? But I think I'm at a phase in my life now, and I wonder if it doesn't come in phases, that I'm in a phase in my life now where, you know what, I look at everything. I look at all the bits and pieces, all the furniture, I look at all the bits and pieces. None of it's really got any meaning for me, other than, do I spend time with my animals? Do I spend time with my family? Do I spend time with Matt? And the answer is no, because I'm away all the time. And that's just, and I wonder if that kind of realization comes in phases, because when you're in your 20s, you're accumulating. And when you're in your 30s, you're establishing. You're establishing your homes, you're establishing your businesses, you're establishing yourself in your role, you're establishing your family. In your 40s, I'm wondering if you're not reflecting, and in your 50s, whether you're downsizing, and in your 70s, your 60s and 70s, you're still downsizing, and
then are we ever happy?
This is the thing.
Was the 20s decade or the 30s decades or 40s, like, is there ever going to be found the happiness?
Well, I had a very, very wealthy friend who retired at 50. That was his goal, to retire at 50. He was an importer of technology stuff, and he'd done very, very well, worked his butt off to get there. Lost a wife in the process, as in marriage broke up, didn't have children. But I said to him one day, how much is enough? When do you know enough is enough? Is it 1 million? Is it 5 million? Is it 20 million? Like, what is enough? And he goes, it's enough when you don't have to think about it anymore. And he goes, so that depends, I guess, on your lifestyle. If you're going to be someone who's a spendthrift, it may never be enough. But when you get to where I'm at, and I know that I can live off the interest on the money I've earned and play golf around the world, that's plenty enough for me. I don't need to work anymore. That's why I retired at 50. I could have kept going. And that was an interesting concept to me. And then there's other people who, and I think about myself, when I get to enough, whatever that looks like, will I want to ever stop working? Well, to be honest with you girls, I don't see what I do as work. I actually love what I do. And so for me, when you say, do we spend our time working our butts off to get what we need in order to have the holiday that we then don't end up having because either we don't have the family anymore or we've created this whole ripple effect, for me and Danny, probably both of us, our work has been very family orientated. So even though he is very much involved in cricket, it takes us as a family to places. We go to India regularly because of cricket. We would never have done that without his work.
And Dubai.
And the UK. We've lived in the UK. We've travelled to the West Indies. Like, seriously, I sit there and I go, well, we don't have a house, but look what we do. And I look at you, Cyndi, and I think you guys don't spend a lot of money on material things. It's not really important to you. But what you do spend money on, and again, not high amounts, but what you and Howie value is holidays, trips, adventures, things to do with experiences.
Experiences is what
Yeah.
I value highly.
Yeah.
And yeah, because from experience you become educated, and I like to involve my family as well.
I think where you've been incredibly blessed, and maybe this isn't a woe is me, but I would like to say this. Because I was never brought up in a home with people that understood money, my mum was just survivor. You earn enough to pay the bills, and she had me at 17. So how she would have known this, I do not hold her accountable at all. She did the best she could. But she never had any advice on how to save money, invest money, or do money. Danny's mum, her whole philosophy of growing up was pay off your mortgage, pay off your mortgage, pay off your mortgage. There wasn't about investing. In fact, that was a massive risk to go and use equity in your home to go and buy another property. So he had a very conservative, and my mum was very, I guess, just uneducated as far as money was concerned. So, and I, as a consequence, was never interested in money at school. And it's only thanks to my business and my last business partner, and I will absolutely give her kudos for this, was actually showing me systemization of money and understanding the power of money and how it can earn you more, that I've actually found myself really accountable and responsible with money again. Well, really, really, truly accountable with it now. So everything I do spend, I'm looking at it. I'm even looking at things in the past, Carren. I would have gone out and gone, look at that nice lampshade. Well, the kids' lampshade is a bit old. They could do with replacing. And now I'm looking at going, the lampshade works. Like, really? Until it stops working, do I really need another kettle? Do I really need another toaster? Like, everything's working. It might look shabby, but I can put that in the cupboard, but it's still working. And I'm actually getting a real joy out of saving and seeing my bank account going up. So I feel like I've done a big circle, uneducated, but never feeling like I've gone without. Then had this amazing, what I consider a wealthy lifestyle, then losing everything, but not my marriage and my family and my life, and realising that that's actually what matters. And maybe the universe transpired, and I look at it as an amazing learning, the whole thing, that's what really matters. To now building up my wealth and equity again, to the point where my husband can come home and work in the business like you guys do, and actually I have a real value around what money is. And Danny and I have always said, we had a friend that always said, well, money is not everything, Kim, but it certainly makes your misery worthwhile. Which I love. But what I really value now is the fact that, and I said this to Taylor the other day, I work hard so that, I do what I do so that I can help you live your dream, so that you're going to help carry your children to live their dream. You want to dance for Australian Ballet. It's costing me at the moment 10 grand a year just for you to dance. It's costing me money for Jacob for his education and what he wants to do. But at the same time, I look at it as an investment. So my attitude around money has changed quite significantly. And I think really and most potently, there was a book that I read in the 90s called Status Anxiety by Alain de Botton. Have you read it?
No.
Oh, it's an amazing book. Status anxiety. If you do have an issue around whether you should have a Lexus car as opposed to a Honda Civic, or like if you've got all these things around what is it is, he reckons it's all based very much around the status anxiety that we have around trying to prove to everybody else what we all have, and we think that what people see means something. And people are surprised when they come to my home, for instance, and they go, oh no, I don't, we rent here. And for a while there I used to think, oh my God, we rent. Oh my gosh, we don't own our own home. We don't even have enough money to buy our own home. Like, oh my gosh, what do people think of me? And yet most people think that I do own that home, or they don't think anything of it, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not even something that people would think about.
No.
I think that anxiety is what goes on for us more than what it does go on outside.
It's exactly what Ellen talks about in that book, and it's a wonderful book. And it's just reminded me, now that I have a different value around money again, now I'm going to read it again because I'd like to read it now with those eyes on.
Yeah. I think when you can afford something, you kind of go, well, it's not really what I want anyway. Like if you can afford a really nice car, and then you kind of go, but I don't want to spend my money on that. I want to... But maybe if you can't afford it, then you do it. And it's all about this status anxiety thing.
We all want what we think we can't have, isn't it?
And they always say, I hear this a lot, that we spend to what we make.
Oh yeah,
like if you were making probably $200,000 a year, you probably would have spent
every
that.
cent.
And people have got to realise that in order to probably get ahead, is that you can't spend to what you make. It's really important to invest. And one of the things that I was always taught was to put a certain percentage away of your money every single payday. Pay yourself first.
Yeah.
Then do everything else. And it's like you don't even have that money. You just put it away. And I taught my kids this really early. And I look at them, they're in their early 20s. My last one's 19. And I look at what they have saved. They have huge deposits for their homes.
Oh, wow.
Because that's what they've been taught. Even my middle daughter, who is at university, she is saving. I'm just blown away how she's saving at university. She's at university, she works on weekends, and yet she's very thrifty. She's learnt the art of thriftiness. It was quite funny. She said her and her girlfriend have gone to Perth together. They've lived together. And I remember when we were packing their cars to send their cars to Perth from the east coast of Australia, Casey had her car, maybe half of it was full, yet Grace, her car was full, plus more stuff in Casey's. And Casey said they've just moved. And of course, Grace has gotten a whole bunch of stuff, and Casey has gotten rid of stuff. Casey is, if I can't put it in my car, then I don't want to live with it.
Yeah,
So that's the way she says it. Whereas they had to get a truck, apparently, to move everything.
Wow.
So it just depends on, how the child's been brought up, because we've always been a bit thrifty. And I don't know where my youngest daughter has got it, but she's into Vogue and name brands, and Casey wouldn't know anything about a name brand, whereas Tanya knows everything. I think she got that from you, Auntie Kim.
Well, I've only just learned it, and I learned that from Kaz.
Yeah.
So you can look at Kaz.
Happy to confess. Happy to confess.
It's a
I am the brat. I am the brat.
Yeah, but I love what you've taught, and as a parent, I'm trying to work out how do I teach without the education and understanding. Maybe I've had to go through what we've gone through in order to teach my children that, because Taylor's very much the same. I'll say, do we need this? And she goes, and she's got her dance bag, for instance, at the moment, is tatty. Things are falling out of it, and I keep looking at it going, honey, it's really, and she goes, Mum, there's still stuff in it. we don't need to spend the money on it, but I do need a pair of point shoes, she said. So she's actually learning the art of what's more important and what we can afford to spend money on. And she's my online shopping queen, man. If she can get it cheaper online, like I think, wow, whereas Jacob, Mum, can I have that? But he just wants everything. But he's learning that saving, like he came out to me the other day, he stashed $112 in his drawer from birthday monies and things like that. And I said, what are you going to do with it? And he said to me last night, Mum, when are we banking this? So I think it just takes a while for us to understand, and they see how much we work to do what we can for them. But I hope that they see that the work doesn't override their importance or the value of us as a family or what we do together. And it's those experiences together that you can never get back.
Well, I read in the paper over the weekend that the Packers have separated.
Hey?
Yeah. Jamie Packer, is that his name?
Yeah.
Jamie Packer and his wife have separated. She's just had her third child.
Oh my!
And I just kind of and he in the article, it was in the Financial Review, and in the article it was basically saying that that he wanted to pursue his interests in business more. But he's going to be apparently they're still friends and everything like that. And of course this is news, but I kind of go, geez, you got all the money in the world and you can't keep your relationship together.
Wow.
It's not about money that does that. And I'm sure at the end of his life, I don't know, I might be just making this up, but I'm sure he's going to miss out on those 3 children growing, especially if he is... And maybe it's not as important to men as it is to women. I don't know. I often see men, but I see women nick off too. But I often see men go away. I was talking to a girlfriend over the weekend, and she said to me that her husband had a marriage before her, and he had 3 children, and then they had a child. So he has 4 girls that he hasn't seen in like 15 years.
Wow.
15 years. I can't imagine not seeing my children or touching base with my children every day. But his was, he wanted to be financially more secure.
But see, this is a question, isn't it? I mean, there was a saying that I heard a long time ago, if you don't value money, how can you expect the universe to give you more? And I thought that was it was very poignant at the time that I heard it. But I think the same is true for everything. If we don't value relationships, how can we expect to have good ones? If we don't value time, how can we expect to have it? And if we don't value opportunity, how can we expect to get them? Because we don't even recognise when they're present, we don't recognise when they're there. But I think instinctively there is a difference between men and women and the way that we're wired, in that men are wired to be the provider, and it doesn't matter which way we slice it. As much as women, we try to function in a masculine world, men are wired to be the providers, so that's their natural instinct. But I think we've lost it. We've lost our ability to create balance and what that really looks like because of this insatiable need for reward, this insatiable need for status, this insatiable need for gratification, this insatiable need for materialism. I think that we've created these insatiable needs that then throw everything off balance. And money's part of it. Money's part of it. We are always in search of more than what we need. We can never have enough. Like, enough is not enough. But when can enough be enough? Like your question, when is enough enough? But we're always wanting more than what we need so that we never need it, if that makes sense. I always want to have more than what I need, so therefore I will never be in need. But if more than what we need, or having what we need, is all we need, isn't that enough?
Carren, you're an accountant. You've got an accounting background.
Don't tell anybody.
Uh-oh.
A dangerous one, might I say, yes.
And then we know there's accountants and accountants. I would love to spend the last part of this podcast, because I look up to you both. I want to be both of you when I grow up. Seriously, just around money, you really have taught me a lot, both of you. Because I must admit, when we lost all our money, I lost a lot of faith and belief in myself that we could do it again. And I had it's taken me a lot of work on myself to really believe that I'm valuable and I'm worth it, and I value money in the same way. I'd love you both to give your advice to those of us that are parents and also those of us that are working people. What would you both say are the most important critical factors to think about, either from a budgeting point of view or a spending point of view or a savings point of view or a future point of view? What would be some steps or strategies or things that you'd both recommend in order to create the life that we all think we need around money, which I would imagine is doing that, having enough to do what we need to do?
I think, do you mind if I go first, Cindy?
Yep, go first.
I think for me, the distinction for me when, because when I started the business, I really didn't have anything. I had $9. And I was on the bones of my freckle for probably 4 years of the 6 years that I've been in the business. And what I realised was that my problem was always that I was in pursuit of trying to make money. And of course, and I get money equals confidence. You know, I really understand that that's how we've set ourselves up in society. But what I realised was that I was in constant pursuit of money and it wasn't working. So I had to go in constant pursuit of something else that I valued more highly than what I valued money. Because I always used to say, I'm not in it for the money, I'm in it to make a difference. I'm not in it for the money, I'm in it to make a difference. So because that was my view, was that I wasn't in it for the money, I was in it to make a difference. Yeah, I made a massive difference, but I didn't make any money. So I didn't place any value on money either. So I was placing all my value on making a difference. But I forgot that money is an energy and money is something that we create. Just like opportunity is something that we create and we participate in. And just like an amazing life is something that we create and we participate in. So I think that for a person to understand that money requires our valuing it and respecting it and caring for it and treasuring it and not making it evil and not making it wrong and not making it something that makes us anything other than what we are, I think it's important, because I think money's been branded as the root of all evil for a long time. But I don't think that money is the evil. I think what the person could potentially become is where the evil lies, because the person loses themselves in that status that you were talking about. That's where it goes awry. That's where we get lost in it. But money itself is not. Money is a part of life, like life is a part of life. So I think if we can value it and we can treasure it like we treasure everything, then I think that's been the biggest learning for me, because when I started to value money and care for it and treat it like I treat creating everything else in my life, the floodgates have opened in a way that I never expected. I never even expected it. And now, I'm at a stage where I'm thinking, geez, how am I going to maintain this? And it's true. Yeah. You know, you're never happy, because I think, but when I didn't have it, it was like, how can I get it? Now that I've got it, I'm like, how can I keep it? And, do you know, and how am I going to pay my taxes? Because, oh my God, I'm going to pay taxes. Yeah. So it's, you know, it's just, it's a never ending cycle. But I think a person's got to be aware that it's part of our ability to create, to create magnificently.
That's beautiful.
And, you know, I'm going to add on to that in the creation of it. It was when I started manifesting, and we did that manifesting one quite a few weeks ago. It was when I started manifesting that it all just started to flow like you wouldn't believe. So you're right, it is a creation. And just how we create our lives or our health or our, you know, homes, whatever it is, it's a creation. And you have to get out there and you have to see it. A lot of people sabotage. They see it, they get it, and they lose it again. So it's about stopping that sabotaging process. So for me, it was manifesting not so much finances, but sabotaging the extent that my business could get to. How far could I reach? What can I do? How far can I go? That was how I felt I wanted to do it. Then there is still the budgeting. Just because you're making money doesn't mean you can spend it. So I still live on a need and want type of thing. So, you know, I was looking at a new car, and I could afford any car I want. But mine was the whole status anxiety thing. I went, do I want that car because it's status, or do I want it because I like it? And I kept looking at all these beautiful cars, and I go, but it's just the same as mine. It gets me from A to B. My phone connects to my radio. You know, what more do I want? And it wasn't until I found this car, I ended up buying a Prius C, which was a very reasonably priced car. Don't spend a lot of petrol, you know. But it lived in my lifestyle. It was my lifestyle, and I guess that's, you know, was one thing. So I still budget. I still am very mindful of my needs and wants. You know, do I want a nice car, or I need a practical car, a car that does this? You know, so things like that. I also had to change my language. To change my thoughts and my language around, you know, paying bills and having anxiety about paying bills because I never had enough. I'd always be shuffling money from here and there and going, I can't afford that and I can't do that. And I went, no more.
Yeah.
No more am I going to do that. I don't want that language as I have no money or I don't have enough money. I don't say it anymore. It's just not in my vocabulary, because that was something that I learned in a book I read on money personality, funny enough. And I guess I love what I do. So I'm actually not working. I'm actually having a fun time. Even, you know, we talked about this. It's like I don't think I'll ever stop working because it's not work to me. It's so much fun and play. Look what we do.
And even in that, you're creating.
Yeah. And I am creating. And then the other thing is that a husband and wife together, combining their efforts together as Howard entering into the business. And getting a business coach, you know, a coach. You know, we need coaches. Athletes need coaches. We needed a business coach. You know, I paid for my university degree through my, you know, my business coach in business. It was the best thing we ever did. So I think changing the language, still sticking to a budget, even though you're making money, it's really important. Stay below your means. Put aside a percentage. But I want to tell you a story about a gentleman I've been listening to. His name's John Robbins, and he's the son of Baskin and Robbins. So he's worth a lot of money. He said he grew up in a home that had an ice cream cone for a swimming pool.
Hello.
You know, the shape of the ice cream cone, or the pool was the shape of the ice cream cone. And he was groomed to become the person who ran Baskin and Robbins. And he said to his dad, as he was going through university and everything like that, he says, "This is not what I want." And he met this girl at university, and they chose that they wanted no money from his father, and they chose a simple life where they went in and they became they lived on a property where they were able to grow everything they needed.
Self-sufficient, sorry,
yeah, everything was in there. And of course he's worth an absolute fortune now because he decided to live the simple life, and now he's written books on the simple life.
Oh, how wonderful.
And it's just, you know, it was amazing listening to this guy, and he had such, as I'm listening to him, I'm thinking he had such a beautiful heart. And he, even though he had lots of money available to him, he chose not to do it, not to take it on. He chose the life of the simplistic way. And
beautiful.
I think that's amazing, and I really value what he's saying. But I would imagine subconsciously he would have had huge comfort knowing what he had behind him.
Yes.
Because for us, for instance, when we had lost everything, we had no dads, no mums, no grandparents we could go and ask for help. There was nothing. So, and that's another thing I want to ask you both. You know, why is there such a negative connotation around wealth? Like, you're filthy rich, you're stinking rich.
I know, it's amazing, isn't
rich
it?
Rich bastard, rich bitch. Like, what is the negative connotation around that?
I think because 92% of the world's income is possessed by 1% of the world's population. So 1% of the population is earning 92% of the income. So 99% of the population are not getting a great deal of dollars. 1% of the population is earning 92% of our money. So when you look at statistics like that, and then you also look at the degree of poverty and the degree of suffering that exists in the world, there's a huge imbalance. I don't know. I think, and I think that there's a lot of suffering that goes on for people and those with the money and not doing anything to help and support and all of that, you know. So I think maybe that's probably where it comes from. There's a jealousy, there's an envy there, there's a discontent, or it's unbalanced.
And it might be that, like you hear about very wealthy people being quite mean people. And not all, that's not true.
Yeah.
But you actually
on the
hear
movies
about
it's true.
Yes, on the movies
it's true.
And in books it's true.
Yeah.
But you actually see that, and especially like if we go back to Roman times, where the emperors sat on the throne and then all the slaves did things for them, and maybe it goes back to those days. I don't know, but I think that more and more people, especially people who have got some money, are becoming a little bit more philanthropic. That's the word. Becoming a little bit more philanthropic, and then there's the notion of the good and the bad philanthropic. You see people and you think they're great, doing wonderful things, but they may not be. It's just their belief that they're doing the right thing. But that's their belief, and then there'll be other people doing other things, and it's their belief, and yet the two never ever meet. Yet they're two people that everyone thinks are doing great things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I look at Gates. I don't agree with what he's doing.
Bill Gates?
Yeah, I don't agree with his...
What's he doing?
Well, he wants to vaccinate every child in the world.
Ah, right.
And I don't know if that's right. I don't know if I understand that belief system and I understand that thing, but that really gets me. And yet I look at John Robbins, who probably not as wealthy as Bill Gates, but his is about creating simplicity and teaching people about health. He's all about health and teaching people to find their own simplicity and their own health in their own backyard with their own veggie garden and their own way of living. And here's somebody that's making sure every African, and maybe these people can't tolerate these vaccines, and there are Africans that are moving across borders not to be vaccinated. So how can that be a good thing if somebody else doesn't want it? But if people look, it's just me lately, just watching how people use their money. Look at the food companies. They're just so wealthy, and yet they're destroying populations. Yet they're saying, we're feeding hungry planet. You won't be able to do it organically or self-sufficiently. You won't be able to do this. We're saving the planet. And chemical drug companies who believe that they're saving people's lives. And yes, they save people's lives, but they're also hurting a lot of people. Do you see what money can be? It can bring you power, but it can be sometimes misguided power. And that's what's scary. And some people think I'm misguided. I have people on Facebook that just think I'm so misguided in my beliefs on health. And that's fine. That's their belief. And I like to say to them, well, whatever's working for you, you just keep doing it. But this is what works for me.
Yeah.
And for people who want to listen to me, then... I'll guide them in the way that I've lived.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
So to finish up, I know we're coming to a closing, but I want to ask you both, if there's someone listening to this and they are struggling to make ends meet and they are trying to do the best that they can, or, is there some things around budgeting or around saving or around spending that you both think is a really important... I'm really interested in, particularly from an accounting point of view and also from a experience point of view. What would you be like? Okay, what have you said to your children?
I think she asked us this question before and we kind of dodged it a little bit.
Yeah. No, but
I think we did give answers.
No, but you said I wanted to hear what
I want to hear.
I want more. Okay.
No,
So
I want to hear both.
10% of your income, pop it into a savings account and don't touch it.
Nice.
It must be for investment only.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not for fun, it's not for play, for investment only.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make any investments, make them educated. Never risk your money. This is just my view. Never risk your money by putting it in somebody else's hands, because they're always going to have their own agenda. And everybody thinks that they're doing the right thing, just like we think we're doing the right thing. So much better to trust what I think rather than what somebody else thinks I should do with my money. So I always put the 10% in, and when you've got a little bit more, pop a little bit more in. Like now I do 20% into my own account, and I give 20% to animal protection societies. And that just makes me feel quite virtuous, and it makes me feel like what I'm doing is worthwhile.
You know, one thing DeMartini said that really got to me, and Dr. DeMartini is a very wealthy man. He basically said when he first started out as a very poor man, he used to, if someone took him out for dinner and paid for him, he would have saved himself $40. He'd put it into his savings account. If he got 20% off a vacuum cleaner, let's say that he had to buy, he would put that 20% into a savings account. He always paid full, but that money would go into a savings account. So that's another way.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that way of doing
cool.
it when I heard him do that. But I think, you know, like, we have our ideas of it. But I think what people need to do, and this is another thing, we're not educated about this in school.
No,
You know,
we're really
our
not.
life skills that are so important for us to get ahead, we're not even being taught in school. So,
Or we're not being taught the right way, because I can say this to you. I mean, I did accounting right through school, loathed every part of it, did not enjoy economics because it didn't resonate with me.
But it's not teaching you how to deal with
This is what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? This is what I'm saying. So I was taught accounting and economics. It was only 6 weeks ago my business mentor showed me all my balance sheets for the last 12 years, and he went, all profit and loss statements, and he was pulling it down. Now, I can't regurgitate exactly, but the fact that I followed him freaked me out, because then and this is what takes it down, and this is how we create a trial balance. And I just went, oh my God, is that what a trial balance is? I had not mentioned, thought, or even heard of the word trial balance since fifth form accounting. And here it was, all of a sudden it made sense to me at 45 years of age, 30 years later. So for me, it's like, you're right, they do educate us in school around these, but it's how do you make it relevant?
I think like anything I ever think about, it's about education. It is about education. First of all, get educated. If you don't know how to handle money, then go find somebody that does know how to handle it. And that might be in a book or podcast. There's, you know, we're part of the Wellness Couch podcast, but surely there's a money wellness out
Well,
there.
I've just been given a whole list of business podcasts to listen to, really good ones.
Okay.
And I've just started downloading them, and they're really interesting.
But don't forsake us for them.
Oh, no. It's over and above.
Yes.
And
Yes. But I just feel education is so important. Get a book. You know, there was a lady in Toowoomba that wrote 3 best-selling books. You know, how I paid my house off in, 5 years. Read the book.
There's an awesome friend of mine. Her name is Michelle House.
Michelle, yeah.
Yeah, Michelle House. She's great in terms of being able to get your head around how to manage your own money inside of your household and how to manage it on a day-to-day basis for people who don't know. And I think that kind of education, it's like everything though, isn't it? It's like our health, it's like our mindset, it's like everything. We've always got to be a work in progress. We've always got to be researching and educating ourselves so that we can make informed decisions. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
I really appreciate what you have both said. You've both taught me heaps, and I think the value of money is probably, I think, the greatest thing I've also got from it. Not only valuing it, but being incredibly grateful.
That's a real key, isn't it?
So
Being
grateful that I can
grateful.
earn it, and so grateful that I can spend it, and so grateful that I can save it. So thank you.
Even
both.
if it is only $10.
I do. I put it. We have a money tin too. We have a little thing every year. Every time there's change or anything,
Yeah.
as a family, it all goes into the big $50 tin, and at the end, that's our Christmas money.
Yeah.
So, or sometimes a $50 note goes in there. If I happen to have saved money on something, we'll both go, well, let's put that in the tin. And at Christmas time, sometimes it's a $500 bonus that none
That's
of us.
really cool.
Yeah, none of us actually were expecting, and we don't know. And we all get a buzz on Christmas Eve is the day that we open it, and we look at how much we've all put into the tin. So
Matt
it's
and
quite
I
cool.
do that. We've got a big $50 tin, and we put money in it. And every time we're going to have a holiday, and it's a once a year open, so we do it before our holiday. And when we went to Europe, we had 500 and something bucks in there.
Extra, yeah. Or Howard has a sock.
Does he?
Can't even lift the bloody sock.
It's not a sock anymore; it's a stocking.
Oh my God! I go, why don't you go and find out how much is in there? And it just gets heavier and heavier, and you're like, that damn thing. And it's one of those woolen socks, you know, so it's so thick.
It's quite fun though, isn't it? Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun. We all have our socks.
Making pennies.
Yeah,
Making money fun is so important.
Yes.
So hopefully you've enjoyed this podcast. I've kind of lost track of where we even went with it. It was all about value and money and making it and stuff. So if you guys have got any comments about what you've specifically done, to make money and value it and keep it and create an opportunity out of it. We really want to hear what you've got to say. It's time for us to really start getting all this information out to everybody. So join us on our Facebook page at allthews.facebook.com/up-for-a-chat. Or you can also post on this page at the bottom of the podcast on the wellnesscouch.com/up-for-a-chat. Join us here next week on Up for a Chat and be part of the ripple effect that's changing the world. Cha-ching!
Hi, Brett Hill from That Paleo Show and the Wellness Guys here. Well, the Facebook buzz after the Wellness Summit has just been unbelievable. Deborah said the summit was inspiring and empowering. Jen Fellows said she learnt so much amazing information that she thought her brain was going to explode. Well, hold on to your hat, because if you missed the summit, guess what? We recorded the entire lot so that you can have the summit in your living room forever. So to order the Wellness Summit 10 DVD home study program for just $197, simply go to www.thewellnesscouch.com and click on shop.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/The Wellness Couch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.